You know, I always start this off by saying, you know, but let me just do it different. You know, Dez Bryant, the wide receiver from Dallas Cowboys, has been receiving a lot of criticism, and rightfully so, about his Instagram posts regarding race in America, and I definitely was one of those critics, and still stand behind from what I say. And when I did my last video, you can go back and look it up, saying pay number 88 no mind at all. You know, I'd had a lot of these idiotic trolls who probably some old butthurt in their feelings Cowboy fans get want to have a little take on it and stuff. But you know, I have a few choice words for them, and I just go ahead and block them and keep them moving, because there's still a lot of work to do. Well, lo and behold, you know, I would, like myself, me being a Scorpio, being a water sign, and Dez Bryant, he's a Scorpio too. But it's ironic it takes another water person in order to go ahead and get him in the right current to set him straight. And I always give kudos and much love to Shannon Sharpe for doing just what he did on Undisputed with Skip Bayless and Fox Sports on Undisputed. And he put it in the same way that I would have put it. So I really ain't got no problem with that, because Dez Bryant, of all people, he goes ahead here and he quotes you quoting. Let me just take you back in time a bit. That the video I did, you know, Dez Bryant quoting Charles Barkley, of all people, Charles Barkley. About just give me a second. Sorry about that, folks. So Shannon Sharpe was on Undisputed the other day with Skip Bayless and Joy, about in regards to Dez Bryant, and I got the audio right now where I'm gonna let y'all listen to it and Shannon Sharpe's response to it.
Dez Bryant had a long post on Instagram with his thoughts on race in America. Dez wrote, "First and foremost, I would like to say I do a great job of minding my own business, but it's pressing on my heart to share my thoughts about white Americans and black Americans, racism. I saw a person quote Charles Barkley when he said, 'We as black people were never going to be successful, not because of you white people, but because of other black people.' I hate to admit it, but I understand that quote. Real question. What is wrong with being sophisticated and black? Why do we associate those who choose the straight and narrow as not being black enough? We focus hard on fighting the realities that exist instead of creating our own reality. The ones who came before us, Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Malcolm X, paved a new path for us to follow. The struggles and hurt they endured created new life for us today. It's not our job to carry the burden, but it is our job to lead by example." Shannon, what's your reaction to what Dez wrote?
I read his post several different times, and when our producer Chris Healy called me and asked about it, I had not heard about it at the time, and he told me to take a look at it, and I did. I think for me, I don't have a problem with athletes speaking up, but I want to make sure before they speak up, they read up. I came from a very difficult background also. I think a lot of people know my story. My grandmother raised her 9 kids and raised my mom's 3. And I thought a lot of the same lines earlier in my career as Dez is thinking. I made it out, why can't you? And then one day while sitting alone, I started thinking, what about the person has a grandmother. What about the person that didn't have grandparents that says, okay, my grandkids' parents are getting a divorce. I'm going to Chicago and I'm going to bring them to me and put them in a situation so they can thrive. Skip, I think Dez's heart was in a good place, but because he hasn't read up enough on the race relationship and the history of racism in America, it came out totally wrong. Let me take it piece by piece if I can, Skip. First of all, he said he saw a person quote Charles Barkley. I'm going to say this, I have the utmost respect for Charles Barkley. He was a heck of a ball player. When it comes to basketball, please quote Charles Barkley. But when it comes to race in America, please don't quote Charles Barkley. Because what is happening is that, Dez, when you say personal accountability, okay, who do I hold accountable? So I'm supposed to hold me accountable for slavery? What about Reconstruction? What about the Jim Crow South? What about segregation? What about the violation of my civil rights and my voting rights? So who do I hold accountable for that? He also said that instead of making videos of the history of racism, we're one of the few race of people that everybody says you need to get over your past. Slavery happened 400 years. You weren't in slavery. Your parents wasn't in slavery. I have yet to hear a person tell a Jewish person, you weren't in the Holocaust. Get over it. They still do movies about the Holocaust. They still write books. No one tells them to stop. But because Dez does not understand the systemic, let me take you here. It's documented that they say the first African-American slaves arrived in the U.S. in 1619. It's 2017, so in 2 years, it'll be 400 years the first slave arrived in America. So for 400 years, there's been systemic, institutionalized racism, bias, perpetuated and perpetrated against a race of people. And Dez says, you need to be accountable. Dez, I can't get ahead if someone is constantly keeping me behind. Dez, we're not in position. We don't own TV stations. We don't own radio stations. For the most part, we're not CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. So we can't shift the dynamic of the hiring and firing practice that can lift the race of people up. Do you understand what has transpired? And people thought because we had a two-term black president, President Obama, that 400 years of racism would be eradicated in 8 years. Think about how long it took us to get to this point. And then he mentioned some iconic figures. Dr. King, Rosa Parks, Malcolm X. Do you actually think they did what they did for themselves? Is that what you think? You think Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat? This was because of her. She knew the ramifications. You think Dr. King lost his life just for himself? Malcolm X lost his life only for himself? There was an incident that happened in 2011. He was issued a citation. He was at a mall with some of his friends. The police intervened and asked him to pull his pants up. So think about this, Dez. How long has that been in effect? Where the police tell you to pull your pants up. They're profiling you because they think that's the kind of criminal behavior. They didn't look at you as a Dallas Cowboy. They looked at you as any other black young man in America. Mm-hmm. That's what you don't get, Dez. So when you say personal accountability, all you do is that you feed a certain segment of the population to say, see, I told you. Dez Bryant said it. Charles Barkley said it. Dez, you're not even the 2%. You're the 0.01% of black Americans that makes millions. But there's so many that don't. Dez, do you realize that you're still black? They still view you as black, even though you catch a touchdown for the Dallas Cowboys? Do you realize that? You think they view you differently? They applaud what you do, Dez. They don't applaud who you are. I commend you for changing, coming from where you came from, your story. I know a little bit about the story. If you get a chance, you can read it. I hate when they ask us to accept responsibility for slavery, accept responsibility for the 400 years of institutional and systemic racism, the voting rights. There's some places now still that you're infringing on people's voting rights. And I'm going to say this, Skip, and I'm going to let it go. Skip, you remember this, in the late 80s, there was a crack cocaine epidemic that was wiping through America. New York, Chicago, Detroit, Atlanta, LA. What did they do, Skip? They didn't say these people needed treatment. They gave you mandatory minimums. They made the sentences even tougher. They came up with the 3 strikes rule. Now there's something going on called the opiate addiction that's sweeping through the Rust Belt. That's affecting white America. And what do they say? Jail is not the answer for these people. They need treatment. You see how they did it for them and how they do it for us. So Dez, next time you speak up, make sure you read up and understand what we're actually up against. I'm not saying you should have any ill will to everybody that's treated you wrong. I judge a man by how a man treats me, not his race, by that man. And I commend you because you say you've been profiled, but you don't have ill will only against those that profiled you. But then you're wrong in this instance. And you do a disservice to a lot of African Americans in this country when you say we need to take more accountability when we're not in position to do a whole lot because of what's been placed upon us for the last 100 years.
That was Shannon Sharpe recently on Undisputed. Very well said. Very well said. He said basically the same thing I would say, but he put it in a more better context than I did. And on top of that, Shannon Sharpe has a bigger platform than I do. I will always support Shannon Sharpe, man, you know. And there's been a lot of things going out there. Well, that was, I forgot what date it was, but now recently, Dez Bryant had, quote unquote, had, how should I say the word, clapped back on Shannon Sharpe, which I don't understand why. But this is what happened, and we're just gonna go right here to Bleacher Report, which is pretty good because Dez Bryant said that. Sorry about that. My apologies. Sorry about that. That says Shannon Sharpe had, excuse me, twisted his words about race relations. Let's just get right into it. Dallas Cowboys wide receiver Dez Bryant offered his thoughts on the state of race relations in America in a series of Instagram posts Sunday, and Fox Sports' Shannon Sharpe responded Tuesday. But you know, y'all done already heard that one. Okay. So Dez Bryant later replied on Twitter and said Sharpe twisted his words, which he twisted on his iPhone. He said, "All I can say to your response is you have to want to make a change. I constantly remind the ones who are around me, it's not meant for everyone to understand because it's not going to because everyone is not going to understand. See, I speak from hurtful experiences. I program myself to try to avoid all excuses. I choose a different way to lead by example. I want to leave you with this. No one is obligated to respect anyone's wishes or demands." And you know, he tweeted on there saying, "I have to go on this show. Shannon Sharpe, you are absolutely wrong how you twisted my words." And you know, these are the words that Dez Bryant said. So it seems like it's an ongoing thing now with that. But I think I know where I could find that at. I do happen to have the audio. Yeah, because like when it comes down to let's see, I think I got the audio right here.
I don't have a problem.
Let me just play it with y'all.
With athletes speaking up. But I want to make sure before they speak up, they read up. Skip, I think Dez's heart was in a good place, but because he hasn't read up enough on the race relationship and the history of racism in America, it came out totally wrong.
Des responded saying, I have to go on this show, Shannon Sharpe. You are absolutely wrong how you twisted my words. Des added, all I can say to your response is you have to want to make a change. I constantly remind the ones who are around me, it's not meant for everyone to understand because everyone is not going to understand. I speak from hurtful experiences. I programmed myself to try and avoid all excuses. I chose a different way to lead by example. If you want to leave, I want to leave you with this. No one is obligated to respect anyone's wishes or demands. Shannon, I'll get your thoughts in a minute, but Skip, what's your reaction?
Shannon Sharpe, I'm going to preface my remarks with this once again to you. I cannot begin to feel what you feel about the history of slavery in this country or the current racial climate in this country. But my ears are always open, my heart's always open, and I listened very carefully to what you said yesterday sitting in that seat. And then I tried very hard to process and comprehend what Des wrote in his first post and what he wrote back to you yesterday or last night. I believe you both made strong points. It is certainly not for me to judge who is more right about those points. You said you cannot ignore or forget the history of slavery in this country or even the recent history of racist reactions on the part of white policemen and police women in this country. And you are so right about that. And Des, if I may try to interpret what he wrote, says that you can't be so trapped by history that you don't try to do your individual part to just move forward, to try to make this country a better place to live for black and white people. Mm-hmm. And that's despite, as he said, everything that's happened and continues to happen in this country. And maybe those remarks, as you pointed out, can be naive or misinformed, or maybe he's sending a dangerous message as a Dallas Cowboy star who makes $14 million a year and got a $20 million bonus to start this contract. Mm-hmm. But I just want to say publicly, I would welcome Des Bryant on this show to sit right here as long as he would want to sit and discuss these issues with you as long as he would want to discuss them. And I think that could be extremely constructive and productive. And I hope this will happen because I would hope that I could sit and listen and learn a whole lot from both of you in that exchange.
Skip, when I discuss a topic on this show, I don't do it for shock value. I say what I truly, honestly feel. I do my homework, I do my research, and I try to speak in a way that the people at home will understand what I'm trying to convey.
fair point.
Dez, let me tell you something about being black in America. Everybody knows baseball. You know, in baseball, you get 3 strikes. If you strike out, Skip, when I come back up to the plate again, I'm starting from scratch. Being born black in America, I've already got 1 strike. That strike will never, ever go away. No matter what, no matter how high I ascend, I still have that 1 strike. Right? Dez, Skip, I know you didn't follow it.
Okay, hold on. Sorry about that. My apologies. Hold on 1 second. I'm just gonna pause. Okay, sorry about that, people. Sorry about that. My apologies. So, let me just go ahead and continue with that because Shannon was hitting on something that was some real talk, as well as Skip Bayless was.
I don't do it for shock value. I say what I truly, honestly feel. I do my homework, I do my research, and I try to speak in a way that the people at home will understand what I'm trying to convey. Dez, I would love for you to have the opportunity to come sit and discuss your views, and then you hear my side, and then we can go from there. But before you do, I ask that you do me this one favor. I ask that you read the DOJ report, the Department of Justice report, what they found in the police department in Ferguson, Missouri, what they found in Chicago, and what they found in Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay.
And then, and only then, if you think personal accountability is the way, then we can have this honest conversation.
Okay, that's a fair point.
Dez, let me tell you something about being black in America. Everybody knows baseball. You know, in baseball, you get 3 strikes. If you strike out, Skip, when I come back up to the plate again, I'm starting from scratch. Being born black in America, I've already got 1 strike. That strike will never, ever go away.
That's right.
No matter what, no matter how high I ascend, I still have that 1 strike. Dez, Skip, I know you didn't follow it like I did. Because, see, some things that Dez doesn't understand is not blatant. They're subtle. If you was following the election, and everybody was talking about how President Trump, his path to the White House, they kept using the term white working class. Skip, how many times you ever heard him say black working class?
Right.
They just say he's trying to get the black vote. But they also said something about college-educated white women. Oh, I guess black women aren't educated. What's that about? You see, Dez, if you're not careful, see what I want you, because I get it. Personal responsibility. I try to do the best that I can. I left Glenville. I got out, but I never forgot Glenville, and I tried to bring people with me. But Dez, you got to be careful because when you say personal accountability, you feed and perpetuate a narrative that a lot of what's transpiring in blacks' lives is self-inflicted. So if I'm personally accountable, does that mean that the barriers that they're putting in place is trying to make it more difficult? Because Dez, in the very state, the judges again, the court system again, says these restrictive voter IDs laws are racially biased. People trying to do the right thing, and they're putting barriers in place to make it more and more difficult for them to vote.
Right.
If I'm personally accountable, can I get access to health care? Can I get access to employment? Can I get fair access to education? That's all I'm asking, Dez. I get what you're saying. You say, hey, but if you just look at you and says, hey, I'm going to be responsible for Dez, that's a narrow, that's a shallow way of thinking. And I don't think like that. Now, Dez and I came up in two different generations, Skip. Born in 1968, came up through the 70s, and so I know what it's like. Dez,
your backgrounds aren't that dissimilar, but your eras are.
Yes. Being from rural South Georgia, and seeing some of the things that I saw and hearing some of the things that I heard, it kind of shaped me, but it didn't taint me. Because, my grandmother, she worked for white people. She would clean their homes and stuff like that. And when I needed the money to go to 4-H camp, she would go borrow it for them. So I have the utmost respect. Like I I judge a man by how he treats me, not the man's race, and says, okay, he treated me bad, that whole race of people is bad. That's not how I do things, Skip. But it's just for me, I just think Dez needs to do a little more reading, a little more research to have a fair understanding and a grasp of what race is like in America. So think about this, Dez. Think about what your life was like before you had that star on your helmet and you got that $14 million a year.
All I got to say, thank you, Shannon Sharpe. Thank you. And that's coming from a late 68 baby, like myself, and like Shannon Sharpe. So I totally get it, where it come from. But yeah, it's about that what's gonna happen like with that though. But yeah, that's true. It's a lot of things that look like we're true. Because like I said, with Dez Bryant, you know, he get out there, he quoting Charles Barkley. And even Shannon Sharpe even said that, man, look here, when it comes down to race relations, don't quote Charles Barkley. Don't quote Charles Barkley. Do not quote any of these other buck dancing idiots. Any of these old dumbass rappers or anything like that. But you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna just leave that link in the description for y'all. But once again, you know, kudos, major props go out to Shannon Sharpe, man. Shannon Sharpe, you know, that brother there, he keep it 100. And I said it before, said it once, I said it before. I had the pleasure of meeting him several years ago, a while back. Man, let me tell you something. The real deal. He's the real deal. Real, recognized real. You know? Shoot. You know, like I said, Dez needs to do a little bit more research, as do like a lot of us, you know. And like I say, I do my homework, I do my research and all that. Even sometimes I have to go back in my library and have to go in and get things to really understand it before I start doing these videos and stuff. But like I said, kudos goes out to Shannon Sharpe, man, for going ahead and setting the record straight. And I'm waiting too for that day as well, when Dez Bryant comes on the Undisputed and talks about his thing. But I'm gonna say this once and I'm gonna say this again before a pardon shot before I leave. Dez Bryant want to speak so much on about with race relations and race in America and all this stuff. Then why don't he go ahead and stand up to Roger Goodell in the NFL and go ahead and speak up for Colin Kaepernick? If he's so doggone hell-bent about talking about race relations or double standards and stuff. I don't see him or none of those other majority black NFL players doing that. But no, I guess, you know, you just want to keep that $14 million in your pocket, something that a lot of us can't even get. But all I just gotta say is, just say it like this one more time. Shannon Sharpe, thank you.